Welcome to my YouTube channel. I want to do a short preface to the video you're about to watch. It begins with me explaining why many therapists are unable to help individuals with self-love deficit disorder or codependency. It's important to understand that because you can be a very good therapist, but if you have not been able to see, understand, or recognize your own problem with the same issues or disorders your clients are seeking help from you, then it will end with a disastrous result. That same therapist could be very good in other areas. Say if they are drinking too much or abusing substances and are in denial about it, and someone comes to them and they are drinking too much or abusing substances, the likelihood is that therapist will miss it. So please enjoy the rest of the video, and thank you once again for visiting my channel. You can't see in others what you are blind to in yourself. If you're an alcoholic and you're a therapist and you're in denial of it, you won't see it. If you sadly were sexually abused as a child and you didn't deal with it, you won't see it in your clients. And so by trying to understand and overcome your own challenges, that is going to lead you to being even a better coach, psychotherapist, or any type of healer or helper. I think one of the most crucial processes that happened to me was my willingness and ability to face the shame. And I can think of several junctures in my life, one of which I looked at myself as closely as I could, and I started to understand that I was so desperate for something that I never had and was looking for it, which was love, respect, caring, or the opposite, not being abandoned or hurt, that I was picking the same type of people that did to me what happened to me in my childhood. And we all know that you don't have to have a psychology degree to understand that if we had a healthy childhood, we tend to be healthier adults. And so it was looking at that and understanding, and I say this for myself, and I don't like to use this word for others because it has a very sharp connotation, which I don't mean, but of seeing myself as broken and led by this shame and fear of loneliness to heal some wound that was bigger than myself. And every relationship I sought was to escape the pain. And it wasn't about being happy with good self-esteem and self-love. It was to get out of this loneliness and this shame. And once I admitted that to myself, I had, and I get goosebumps, as I'm talking about it, I had to reconcile my whole life that I had been filled with shame, self-doubt, self-love deficiency. And I was trying to get someone else to make me feel good. And I kept picking the people that didn't. And when you're a therapist with 15, and I'm thinking I had 15 years, 20 years experience at that time, who has a good reputation, everything's going well for him, and you realize how horribly broken you really are, that moment of shame was connected of being an imposter. And that goes back to me being that 17-year-old. I wanted to be someone who truly can help people heal. And that shame could have buried me, or it could have motivated me to find a way for it to go away. And the moment after my last marriage it was cataclysmic. It was the moment of brokenness that galvanized me to get to the next level. And that is when I created my self-love recovery program, and I created the pyramid, and I created, through my own exploration, the understanding of what is wrong with us, and then connect it to what do we have to do to solve it. And so, yes, so I would have to say that was the moment when everything changed to the highest level. And I say this to people, and all the people that are listening or viewing, you will survive if you allow yourself to see that which you feel you're not strong enough to accept. It's the only way, but do it with help. Don't do it by yourself. You know, as a therapist who is very reflective, I am experiencing affect or emotions, which is good. I always want to feel that when I talk about this, to keep it real. But it's really admitting I'm self-love deficient, and that I'm desperately trying to find something to take it away, and like an addiction. And self-love disorder is addiction. I have a whole program just on that. You are looking for something to numb the pain, to make you feel good, and to make you not think of what causes the pain. And what you don't realize is you're picking something that's addictive by nature, and eventually you start to do it just to keep away from the pain, not for the pleasure anymore. And once I figured that out and understood that it is the withdrawal symptom of SLDD addiction or codependency addiction is pathological loneliness. And I promise you, if you ask 10 SLDs, what did you feel like before you met your husband, your wife, your partner, and what did you feel like after? And they will talk about this horrible feeling of loneliness. That is the conscious level of the shame. And it is only the relationship that will make it go away. So either you go back to the narcissist because your brain makes you think that you love him or her, or you find the next narcissist because of the human magnet syndrome. An SLD is not going to fall in love with a healthy person. It doesn't happen, and it doesn't work. A half and a half, codependent and a narcissist, equal 1. This sum represents a half relationship comprised of enmeshed independent individuals. 1 plus 1, or healthy partners, equal 2. This sum represents one potentially healthy relationship comprised of 2 healthy, interdependent, self-loving partners. 1 plus 1 plus 1, parentheses, healthy partners and the healthy relationship, under parentheses, equals 3. This sum represents an enduring and healthy relationship comprised of 2 emotionally healthy partners who have self-love and who take special care of their relationship. What I've done is I've reduced the human magnet syndrome driven relationship, the SLD, the codependent, and the narcissist, into a very simplistic mathematical equation. Please do not overinterpret my use of half people. To understand the relationship math, we have to understand what the fractions stand for. A half and a half. What I'm talking about is not a half person, but a person who never learned how to love themselves, never learned to embrace their true, genuine, authentic self, who doesn't have self-esteem, who needs another person, needs a relationship to feel connected in the world, who runs into relationships that are unhealthy because of this deeply embedded pathological loneliness, this bone-aching feeling of just not being good enough, not feeling lovable enough, expendable. That pain, that intense, scorching pathological loneliness is supported by what I call core shame, which is the fundamental belief that you as a whole are just not good enough, flawed, broken, not lovable. So when you are an SLD, and you meet another person, you carry your core shame and your loneliness and your addictive need to take away the pain of that, and you end up falling in love with a pathological narcissist. Well, that's the human magnet syndrome idea. So I consider that a, quote, half of a person because you didn't develop self-esteem, the ability to love yourself, respect yourself, and care for yourself. And that deficit propels you to find another person who, just by the act of being in a relationship, will somehow take away the pain of the loneliness and the shame. So a half and a half is the codependent, the SLD, and the narcissist. The narcissist is very similar in the fact that they are lacking, hugely lacking, self-love, self-respect, and self-caring. The difference is the narcissist is not aware of it. But trust me, it is deeply embedded in their personality disorder. And they, as much as the SLD, need a relationship, need to be with a person who they can dominate and control to feel okay, to escape their loneliness, escape their shame, and their similar addiction. So the SLD and the narcissist, according to the human magnet syndrome theory, when they meet each other, they are going to recognize each other and see the person that they've always known in their life. They are paradoxically going to feel safe. They are paradoxically going to recognize or feel that this person is familiar. So essentially, the half, the SLD, needs the half, the pathological narcissist, in a relationship so that they feel good about themselves. This becomes a relationship that requires the dysfunction to keep it alive, to keep it together. The SLD, if they should be healthy, they won't want a person like a narcissist who is harmful and hurtful. So these half individuals, the SLD and the narcissist, come together because of the safety and the comfort in the relationship. They feel whole because of the relationship. They don't feel whole or a one because of themselves. They require the relationship to make them feel alive, make them feel happy, make them feel satisfied. Because by themselves, they live in a constant state of sadness and loneliness and negativity. So the half and a half equals one. The SLD and a narcissist equals an enmeshed relationship of two damaged individuals who need each other to feel good about themselves. The second part of the relationship math is that 1 + 1 = 2. And here, the 1 represents a healthy individual. And I'm not talking about perfect. I'm not talking about someone without problems, but someone who loves themselves, someone that can respect and care and love themselves independent of their problems and mistakes. This is a person who is not only self-love abundant, but has individuated from most of their important relationships. Namely, the most important one was the parent-child relationship, where they don't need their loving parent to make them feel capable, make them feel smart enough, make them feel important enough, because they have that inside. And simply speaking, I call that self-love abundance. So when two self-love abundant people meet, they do not need a relationship to make themselves happy, because they already are happy, even with all their faults and their flaws. And when you are that way, and you should meet someone who is not like yourself, who, for example, is an SLD or a narcissist, it doesn't feel right. You want someone who similarly doesn't need the relationship to make themselves happy, because you understand that you don't want to take care of someone. You don't want to sacrifice any part of your life in order to make another person happy. Now that said, and I should say, in a healthy relationship, it is normal to take care of one another and to sacrifice, but it's almost always reciprocal and mutual in many different ways and respects. Now, the last part of the relationship math explanation is 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. And basically, the self-loving individual and the other self-loving individual and the commitment to the relationship. And let's, just for mathematical and symbolic purposes, let's call the relationship a person. So when there's a commitment of self-love, self-development, and self-growth, and that fulfills the healthy relationship. And then there is a commitment to the relationship in itself, is that you set aside some of your personal needs just for the relationship. It's not necessarily the same as taking care of someone because you love them, healthy or not. It's a commitment to building on things that are good, is fixing things that are broken or just kind of over time needed repair. So when a 1+1 relationship comes together and they have problems, then they will seek marriage therapy, or one of the partners will go to individual therapy. And they do that because of their commitment to the relationship as much as their love for themselves and the other person. So in summary, my relationship math concept, I believe, is crucial to my self-love recovery treatment program. First of all, it's a simple explanation for what is SLDD and pathological narcissism. It's a simple explanation for the human magnet syndrome, compelled and frozen relationship. It's a perfect explanation for the outcome of my self-love recovery treatment program, which is to take SLDD, a person with self-love deficit disorder, and through the treatment process and build them and help them heal and help them become the self-love abundant person they always needed to be, so they can be the one to find the other one.